Travis, hello, hello. Please give an introduction about yourself.
Hi, thanks. I'm Travis. I'm originally from Australia, but now I live in Sweden and have been a member of the real world for probably the last 4 months or so.
Mhm. Why the transition from Australia to Sweden?
I did the classic love refugee scenario. I thought with my pants rather than my head then, but it naturally fell into place in which I met a Swedish lady. I mean, a lot of people know what Swedish women are like, and they can relate. So, and then I followed one over here, and I kind of liked it, minus the cold. But in general, it's a
Mhm.
good place to live, and it's very similar to where I had, minus the beaches. I miss the beaches
Okay,
and the hot
fair
weather.
enough. Cool. And you say 3 to 4 months in the real world. So how did you actually find out about it? Let's start with that.
Mainly actually YouTube Shorts. There's a lot of people which are posting a lot of content, and I've been following what's been happening within the news for
Mhm.
quite a long time actually. So it wasn't until probably about 4 or 5 months ago in which I decided, well, no, this actually seems like it should be something in which is both legitimate and that I can do something with and potentially learn and refresh a lot of the skills. That was the main reason that I went into it. I've been working within the sales and like technical software space for the last 10 or so years, and I wanted to make sure that I had a refresher when I was starting my own company.
Mhm.
And I figured that the real world would give me the opportunity to be able to look at sales objectively through a different lens in which wasn't taught in traditional campuses and be able to see if I could apply those lessons directly to what I was doing in my everyday practice.
All right. And what were you expecting then as you were going into the real world? And was reality different or was it up to your expectations?
To be honest, I had relatively low expectations. I thought that
Mhm.
I'd go in with a month. I was like, all right, $50 doesn't really matter. I can burn that and try and just see what it has. But I mean, it's just overwhelming the amount of content and people that is within there. And I mean, it's continuously being updated. There's loads of new people joining, new campuses updating. So I did the classic thing of I joined as many campuses as I possibly could in the beginning, and then I realized, oh wow, this will take me years to get through. There's no
Mhm.
way that I can just possibly grind through these and specifically be good at it, because that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that I did, and what is also talked about in a lot of the videos in which I was looking at was discipline and focusing on the individual goals in which you have to be able to achieve both something in your own business life, personal life, as well as within wealth creation.
Mhm. Okay. And which campuses did you actually end up sticking to after having joined all of them, saying, "Oh no, this is too much information. I'm getting overloaded." And you're like, "Okay, I'll just stick to this one." Which one was it?
So I actually spend 99% of my time in Business Campus. Business Campus for me has just the broadest range of all the different topics in which I could potentially utilize, because you if you've already got a business idea in which you're running with, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. A lot of people will come in, they say, "Oh, well, I want to do copywriting," and then they'll jump over to e-commerce and try that. "Oh, I want to trade stocks," or then they'll say, "Oh, I want to do AI campus and generational AI, and then be able to sell my works with AI." And then you sort of very quickly realize, unless you are really passionate and dedicated about that space, then you're not specifically going to go in and apply yourself to it. So I thought, no, I'll remove the majority. I still keep AI Campus, which is just explodes with notifications all the time. I really need to switch that off, and basically just live purely in Business Campus. And I
Mhm.
spend a lot of time listening and taking in probably almost every day from Arno and the other professors in which are posting within there.
Mhm. Which courses from the Business Mastery campus did you actually find most insightful or most beneficial?
So courses I've spent the most time is without a doubt Financial Wizardry, which is constantly being updated and new courses being added all the time. What I also like about that is that Arno comes in, and even though Tate is very clear with the direction and what he provides within the message, he comes in and gives his unbiased opinion when it comes to the different ideas, and in certain instances in which could seem long-winded or difficult concepts for people to interject with, the new edits which have been made to the courses make it very, very easy and very digestible. I also have a little soft spot for Arnaud Bout. He has lots. He's an exceptional storyteller. There's so many different ways in which he can tweak it, and things in which he has learned throughout the past, in which all of the different lessons in which are within these different areas, and even outreach mastery as well, is they're so applicable universally, regardless of whatever scenario that you are finding yourself in. So if you're working within e-commerce and drop shipping, if you're working with copywriting, if you're trying to sell your services, skills, or an individual product, all of these different courses are so applicable to those different scenarios. It's just a matter of slight tweaks and customizations to be able to suit yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, solid. And what business do you actually have going on? And then how did the Business Mastery Campus contribute to scaling your business?
Yeah. So I run my own software company where we create a form of enterprise drop shipping is probably the term in which you could potentially use. So it creates the ability to be able to sell other people's products in contextualized spaces in which typically you can't sell them in. So you have affiliate marketing is very, very common. You drop a link on someone's page or you create your own blog, and then you redirect the traffic over to that site in order to make a purchase. What we do instead is we collect all the information of whoever is selling that product, place that in a buyable widget directly on somebody's website so you can buy it then and there without ever having to leave it. So think of it like miniature Shopify / WooCommerce stores in which you control, but you have multiple different merchants in which are selling their products through that. So it works differently to a traditional drop shipping method, in which we connect and we add the products directly into their store and that they sell it and distribute it. But we can be working with retailers, we can work with distributors. It's very varied who the end person who is selling the product, as well as the end consumer which is purchasing it. And we put those onto large trafficked websites in which, yeah, it does fairly well.
Very solid. Okay, interesting business model. And how was it doing before you joined the real world? Was it up and running already, or did you start it after having joined? And then, if it was something you started before, then how did the real world contribute to scaling it?
Yeah, so I was building it at the same time in which I joined. So I did a combination of taking bits of the lessons and then applying that to the model in which I was building as I was building the product itself. So you can sort of say that the two went in parallel between each other. And then we had a relatively soft launch in which we launched during the Swedish summer. And Swedish summer, everything just shuts down completely. That's people just go away on holidays, so nothing really happens, and even spending time online. So we started off like just small selling once the product was launched, and it started doing well. And then I started applying some of the principles in which you learn from some of the different courses, specifically the principle of like speed and money in and getting things in place. So consequently, once we started applying those methodologies, we just took off in sales. So I can directly contribute or attribute about 210,000 in which we have sold directly by using the real world and using those lessons learned throughout the business campus.
Very solid. 210,000. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
So we're and that's just the beginning. We're in mainly one big trafficked website at the moment, in which we're going to be adding several. So I've signed several new clients. I've opened up a lot of different sales channels in which we didn't have before. So we're currently on track doing 20 to 40,000 a month, and that's USD. And we most likely by the year's end be hitting probably about 30 to 50,000. Well, actually, probably more. Probably about 50 to 60,000 per month.
Super cool. Okay, so again, congratulations. That's always awesome to hear that the real world contributes quite substantially to uh, your business in this case, or if it was a skill set. So, in terms of material, then within the real world, how different is it compared to what you could have found out on the internet if you were trying to take that approach?
I mean, honestly, if I had this before, I would have shaved years off my life. There's so many applicable components. I mean, I've been working within technical sales and sales divisions within inventory management, within cybersecurity, within um, ad technology, and all of the different things in which I've accumulated throughout the years, I can get in bite-sized pieces basically directly. So when there's a lot of instances when people say, well, you don't really need to go to university because you can learn a lot of the things out of these courses. And to be fair, I fully agree with that, especially if you can put it into practice. The piece of paper from university is nice and it gets you in a few doors. But if you've already got the skills and you've learned through this, especially at a younger age, um, and are able to apply that and start making money and starting to make a name and show it for yourself, then you're set. You
Mhm.
you can really apply yourself in so many different aspects from the learnings in which you can get out of these.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it's the cheapest university degree I've ever had.
Alright. For $50 a month, you're getting scammed. You're gonna be
I am
scammed.
getting,
Don't do it.
I'm 100% getting scammed, and I mean, what a lot of people, I think if it's your last sort of $50 in which you have to your name, I mean, go and buy a hamburger, you and like sit down, look at different courses in which you have there. But if you actually want to commit yourself, it is by far well worth it. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs will look for these different gurus or those different guides in which they have, or you'll see a lot about making $10,000 a month if you follow my 5 step guide, or you'll get all the women that you want in the world by doing this. I mean, most of them are just complete bullshit. Um, this is something in which you actually have real people, real professors. You can see, and by experience that I've had with speaking with multimillionaires or large business owners, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies, you will get more direct knowledge out of these professors than you will talking to people which are running multi-billion dollar companies.
Huge. I like how you put that. Okay, then along those lines, before you joined the real world, what trajectory were you heading down? And then how different did joining the real world change that?
I think we would have started off very slowly and then sort of organically grown. So we were maybe ticking over a few thousand a month at the very most. And then it really sort of hit an inflection point in which I was actively going out and looking for products and merchants in which I know would work in the particular context in which we were selling them. And even though I couldn't obtain them directly, I made sure that I could go directly to the merchants and guarantee and say, look, this is going to sell. I know it's going to work in this environment. I will even potentially pre-purchase things from you on an invoice payment just to be able to get it into this space. And by doing so, some of those items sold exceptionally well. I mean, one that we were selling for that sold for almost $90,000 within the first 3 days of us putting it out there. And that's understanding the context of the environment in which we're working in, but also like taking the risk and making sure that you do you do some of the lessons in which we had. Like Tate gives a very clear example about creating your own makeup brand,
Mhm.
whereas basically buy someone else's makeup, slap your logo on it, and then off you go, or that you prepay for it, or you pre-order everything in advance, even though you don't really have it, or you sell everything and then you acquire the product.
Mhm.
And some of those principles is exactly what I apply applied here. So we were able to generate lots of cash flow in order to get that stock in order to distribute it to the customer.
Right. And once you know, it seems like common sense, but when you don't know, then it comes down to you don't know what you don't know. That was a weird
Yeah,
way of putting it, but yeah, exactly.
I think Professor Arno says it incredibly well. It's like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Mhm.
It's very much the case in this scenario, which is you go around looking very blindly at all the different options in which you have available, and then once you get that aha moment, then
Mhm.
you become that one-eyed man.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Then how different is the average day now compared to before you joined the real world? Any differences there?
I could quit my job. I was working in consulting beforehand, so I was doing both the real world, my startup, and consulting on the side of that in order to supplement it. So it was long days. But now I run my own company. I pick my hours. I choose what I want to do within them, and I've built essentially a money making machine which just ticks over whilst I sleep,
Mhm.
which is what the I guess the true definition of passive income in which a
Mhm.
lot of people are looking for.
Right. And it's still so much more scalable, as you say. Awesome.
Yeah, we're only at the very beginning. So
Good, 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 good. Okay. Then, since you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in the short term, medium term, and long term?
uh, short term we'll be locally based, looking within the Nordic regions. We'll start adding multiple countries, more staff. I've already hired 5 staff. I'm looking for a lot of people to do some freelance work for me. So if there's people which are doing website building within the real world, hit me up or either talk to Rokas, talk to me directly.
Mhm.
Um, Love to be able to help out any budding entrepreneurs in which can help me. A lot of it is once you're getting up to the speed and the level in which you want to achieve, you discipline yourself by putting the different actions in which you would typically do yourself, and you delegate them to others, or that you're willing to pay for something because you put a price to the amount of time that you apply to something. Like my hour is worth completely different from when I was working as a wage job. I was getting paid a salary, and that was it, regardless of how hard I worked. Now I have a direct contribution to the time in which I spend on something, contra to the amount of money in which is coming out of it, and I know that is going directly into my pocket, into my company.
Mhm.
So I'll spend a lot of time scaling the business to be able to continue to do that, to create delegation and create different people within in my company and elevate them so that they can make all the autonomous decisions. So at the end, all I have to do is make the larger strategic decisions in order to continually expand it. So in the first year, we'll move uh, across Europe in quite a few other countries, and then potentially in the year or two after that, look towards um, making ourselves to the United States and as well as with Asia. So we've got quite
Huge,
big
yeah.
goals and ambitions. But considering a similar company that was created sold for 180 million euro, I want to make sure that I double that.
Solid. Only 180. Psh, you could go for a billion.
It's a cheap company, I know. No, so
Yeah.
I mean, a billion would be incredible.
Mhm.
But I also want to ground myself and be
Uh,
realistic, because once you come into the billion status, you can't become a company which is very easily purchased. If you're around the 500 million mark, then there's a decent number of players which could
mhm.
actually purchase you.
Okay. Thank you for that insight. Didn't know. Good to know. For when I build my own company as well. So
Of
appreciate
course.
that. All right. And now, what would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when you were implementing lessons from the real world?
Um, because I was able to do it directly to myself, it was probably ensuring that I had like the discipline to continuously keep applying them, because there's so many distractions everywhere in which you can look at. and you say, "Oh, well, I can just go off on YouTube and learn something," or I get a vibration in my pocket from my phone of a new email coming in from a customer. So you're constantly being pulled away from that. So it's very much about allocating blocks of your time in order to say, this is something in which I've learned. How can I apply this within my business? What is the end goal in which I'm able to achieve from there? And then once I started adding more staff to my team of trying to make sure that we had a culture in which you could execute on things quickly, continuously try and experiment, be able to make autonomous decisions, to be able to, which is part of what you're learning within in the campuses. Everything is speed. So I have, I guess, unrealistic expectations that people should be doing things at a pace that I set. So if I ask somebody to, hey, can you send that email, or hey, can you follow up with this customer, I expect it to be done now.
Mhm.
um, and that's a hard mentality to get into other people. But I think
Mhm.
one of the ways which we're able to achieve that is by taking a lot of that information and then documenting it and applying it to our business context, because then it becomes a lot more relatable, a lot more standard. You create standard operating procedures, in which Arno talks quite a lot about, and a book in which I've started reading called The E-Myth, which is really good as well.
Mhm.
Being able to structure and systemize what you're working with, and even just building your brand and creating value rather than just being a number on a
Mhm.
screen. Because a lot of people are willing to buy the brand and the value, and they invest in you rather than the actual product itself that you're selling. I think a lot of students within the campus are getting the very cold hard truth that introducing yourself with uh, an email saying, "Hi, my name is blah, I sell this." No one gives a shit. What they care about is the result. What can you do from them? I will get you more girls. I will sell more product. I will get your brand on the face of a leading newspaper. What you can do for them is greater than what you're able to provide for them. And I think getting that mentality, documenting it, and putting it towards my team has been quite instrumental to our success.
Love that. Again, some more insights being dropped by Travis. Thank you very much. Now, what you're saying about corporate world is so slow how they operate. So when you come in with a mentality like yours, it's just I'm sure you have barely any competition at that point, as long as you sustain that mentality, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we actually managed to kill one of our competitors by the speed in which we were able to work on. So they
Wow.
literally, we were vying and talking with a lot of the different customers in which they had. We had an idea that there might be contract renewals around this time, and we more or less took all of their customers and killed their business because of the way in which the speed in which we were able to implement and
Hmm.
utilize our tech.
How does it feel? Because as a man, that's conquest right there, like for the modern world. So did it feel that way to you, or no?
Combination of both. So it felt like, yes, I'm winning in this particular scenario, but you're also removing competition,
Hmm.
and competition drives you to that next level. There are a
Mm.
few that are out there which do something very similar to what we do, but it just they're not accelerating at the pace in which we are. So if I had somebody who is able to challenge me in the same way in which that previously company did, which I unfortunately killed, uh, then it's always good because it's a lot of self improvement. So rather than pushing it from yourself or pushing it from your client's perspective, you have somebody in which is, if I don't outcompete them, I may be the one in which is killed.
Interesting, very interesting mentality. I didn't even consider that you're welcoming the competition for improvement. Okay.
Oh, I love competition. I think there's so many businesses in which they say, "Oh, but we don't like competition." Competition is great because it spurs on innovation and excellence, and it makes you think about your product in a completely different way. Things in which potentially, if you're working in a larger corporation, which would take you years to be able to alliterate, and you have a small upstart competition which comes along and is basically able to replicate everything you've done in 10 years in a couple of months, then you not only feel pretty stupid, but at the same time, you're like, oh, well, these could actually start stealing our business from us.
And then innovate. Okay, I appreciate that, Travis, and that pretty much wraps up most of my questions. So to end off, I will ask you, for people who are unsure about joining the Real Watch, because clearly you're a paid actor and clearly they're going to get scammed for $50, what advice would you have to them?
I would actually look and just go over a monthly budget and say, okay, what do I just spend on random garbage? Do I need that extra shirt or go out for an extra meal or something like that? Piece that together. That's the equivalent of 1 month event entry. And you can literally just walk straight into the real world. There is so many different guides and tutorials. There's so many people which are wanting to see you achieve your best, that honestly, what do you have to lose? You can walk in, you can walk out. No one's going to challenge you. Everyone's very, very welcoming, and the lessons in which you learn, if you haven't been within that space, or even if you have, it is just mind blowing the amount of information in which you're able to achieve. And if you're willing to apply that, you will make that money back probably within the first week, without a doubt.
Okay, love that. And here's a proposition for you. Since you've killed off your competitors, now what we'll have to do is do a follow-up with you, let's say 4 months or so, and you will compare yourself then to what you are now and your business as well. So one, accountability, and two, will be good to document progress. I very much look forward to that. That's non-negotiable. You'll have to come on. I'm not even asking. Okay. So
That's
yeah,
fine.
make sure.
I'm happy to do so.
Good. Okay. So make sure you have some good things to report on, some huge successes to blow this one out of the water. Just keep in mind that we're already
Yeah,
doing it. So yeah.
I have one contract in which I'll add on, in which I think I'll probably double where we're currently at. So
Easy. There you go. Perfect. All right. And Travis, it was great speaking to you. Thank you for sharing your insights. I know there were two things specifically which I myself learned, which I will be applying in future. So thank you for that. And I wish you all the best until next time.
thank you very much. We'll talk soon.